Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel, and my god, what an ending. What an ending. Was anybody ready for that? Well, maybe we were. And I'll tell you why, because the way the show opened with the credits, you could actually see them show his face in there, but more on that later. So the team kind of regroups after that dramatic confrontation, that wonderful battle last week, which was clearly unfinished. And how we deal with this is something new for shows like this, because after a fight of that magnitude from last week, what normally follows in a show is pure carnage. But here, we set a different trend. It moves in a different direction because there are kids involved, and the plan from all parties is to try and deflame the situation. Yet there's still a monster on the loose. So we actually see Sylvester Pemberton in this episode. He finally gets involved after missing the last few episodes. And he theorizes that the signal coming from the Marken house was a distraction, which is actually correct, to be honest. Now, Sophus returns home from the hospital and is interrogated by Pat and Sylvester. They visit the house and they ask him all kinds of questions about where is Mike and Jakeem. Now, it's from here we see that Sophos is still wanting to stop the fighting, but if he has to, he says he'll fight to the death, since that's all him and Lily have been doing for their entire lives. I wish they went into a flashback there so we could actually see the problems and troubles that they had, but being how time is of the essence, they don't really want to go too deep into what's happening. It's probably about now that the writers knew the show was closing down, so you can kind of see them speed running a few things in this episode, and I'm sure it's going to happen in the next two episodes as well. Now, we did see Beth and her parents sort of treat Rick's injuries and noticing his rise in aggression and addiction to the hourglass. But again, because they're rushing through this, it's a little disappointing that it's just sort of ended there for this week and not really much was done to tackle that whole issue. He gets a little bit angry, tells Beth not to talk to him like that or tell him what to do or anything like that. Then he just storms out and that's it. I mean, like, that is it. We don't see Rick again for the rest of the episode or Beth. And I think we missed something there. You can see from here that this is where the writers were just trying to rush through to the end. And you can feel that there was something missing in this episode in regards to what they were doing with Rick. But Sylvester and Starman also explain to the team exactly who Ultra Humanite is. And they do talk about the history of the man behind the gorilla, created by the Dragon King. And that's exactly the sort of being that could have killed the gambler and created the kind of damage found at the murder scene who attacked Starman. Yet, he's not the guy watching the TV screens because that guy has a normal size cape on. He's normal size humans. But I like the way that they went into that story. And again, I wish that they went into some kind of flashback where we would have seen them talking about him or seen the team doing something. Now, the Crocs guys were the stars of this episode. And that's where Pat and Starman failed. They failed to convince the grandparents to stop the fighting. But the Crocs, who used to be in the ISA, fighting next to Jordan, they also tried to do their best to deal with these issues. And they went to see the Markens and asked them to consider forgiving the JSA and moving forward because of the continued hate. It was counterproductive to Jordan's goals and also for Cameron's upbringing. So it seems at this part that it worked. I mean, they don't confirm it or anything, but it's clear that it started to deflame the grandparents. And if they continued fighting, only death and hate would be on the menu, making the world worse for Cameron. Also, I like the way when Courtney speaks to Cameron, she covers up for Mike, telling Cameron that she's the one that killed the father, in which Cameron says he no longer wants to see her again. So Courtney, look, was it worth it? Yes, I guess it was, because she can now walk around without a bad conscience, knowing she was honest with him and truthful. Now, Mike and Jakeem find Cindy in the forest. Isn't that weird? She's been missing for a while, yet she's in the forest hunting the monster. So she's interested in this because she wants to clear her name, and by bringing the team the news about who he was and capturing him, she would have cleared her name. So guys, look, man, everybody might be thinking, but how on earth could she take on a monster of that magnitude? Well, let's remember that Cindy at one point took out the whole JSA team by herself. showing that they've really kind of depowered her for much of the season. And if she really wanted to let it rip, Cindy would easily be the strongest in the team. So again, I'm hoping that they do come back to that next week, because that felt left on the shelf as well. A lot of things felt left on the shelf in this episode. But the stars of the show was Crusher and Paula, trying to convince Sophos and Lily to forgive everyone for Cameron's sake. Now that night, after they went to see them, Artemis calls them about her getting into college, Nebraska I believe it was. And they found a room with monitors. They could see all these posters with Sportsmaster on them leading into a drainage. And we all know what's down there. It's the monitors in the sewers. But when they walk into the room with the monitors, the cloaked figure turns up and freezes them. Freezes them. And by now, because you've seen the opening credits to this episode, which shows Jordan on the cover. So yes, guys, it's Jordan. It's Icicle. He's alive, guys. He's alive. Showing him at the start of this episode in the pre-scenes kind of spoiled the surprise. But it was still a shocker nonetheless. But for months, we've been saying that any water-based metahuman like Iceman or Hydro in Marvel, any of them can easily put their bodies back together again if it was smashed or released into vapor or liquid forms. So why not Jordan? Why would he be any different to Iceman or any one of those other guys? Overall, guys, the way the Crocs died was just cruel. Seeing them become good and protecting the Dugans, plus saying that they loved each other just before they died, was heartbreaking. I mean, it really was. Brett Bassinger made a comment on Twitter that when she watched the episode and saw that part, that she was in tears. Guys, I mean, we're still in the comics. We always say no one is truly dead, but these Crocs are about as dead can be. Jordan smashed him into little pieces and vaporized him into thin air. Now, I really enjoyed the scene where Paula tries to teach Barbara how to use the crossbow when she's threatened by one of the Markents. But, you know, I've been a Paula fan for weeks now, but it's just a shame. It's just a real shame that they're gone. Now, Jordan being a killer is only going to amp up the drama over the last few episodes. But with his parents now willing to drop the fight, will they convince Jordan to do the same? The Crocs and the Gambler are now dead. And Icicle's probably got some big plans for Courtney and the JSA, considering they did everything to try and kill him back in season 1. It's funny because in the comics, the Icicle leaped off a 20-story building and apparently plunged to his death. But actually, he survived his fall and returned to play the Green Lantern Alan Scott again and again in the original comics. So a nice little touch there that there's some parallels to this TV show. But like I said, guys, don't worry about the Ultra Humanite heard growling throughout the woods. Cindy is going to take care of that. Yeah? The only problem now is what to do about Jordan. Also, guys, did you get the reference for Green Arrow and Batman? Both referenced in this episode. So that confirms that they are both in Earth 2, but are they alive? Not really sure. There's two ways we can go here. Silver Age Batman Earth 2's origin and his history is very similar to Earth 1, but the events unfold in more of a kind of real-time fashion, because Earth 2, Bruce Wayne, was raised by his father's brother, Philip Wayne, and it's also possible that Batman is already dead. The reason for this is he was born in 1915 and died in 1979, when the original JSA was still around. That's probably why Thunderbolt Penn knows of Batman through Johnny Thunder. But like I said, Earth 2's Batman died a long time ago. The only other way you can look at this is modern era Earth 2 is actually Thomas Wayne. So when they changed up, you know, Silver Age to Modern Age, it was Thomas Wayne which we see, and we actually see him in a Flashpoint story as well. He operated as a Batman after seeing his son Bruce and his wife Martha murdered. He also, guys, stole the Miracolo drug from his colleague Rex Tyler. So he had enhanced powers plus night vision, which Dr. Mid-Nite had, as well as releasing that energy that gives them the ability to breathe underwater. The difference with this Batman, though, is that nobody knew whether this Batman was a hero or a villain. He was kind of an anti-hero. Think of him like a Wolverine type, because he did hurt and kill a lot of people. I also loved when Pat was being an adult in the room when working with Starman. You can see Starman throwing his toys out the pram, giving anger tantrums when they had the meeting with the grandparents. The other question is are Jordan and the Ultra Humanite working together? So if so, that could possibly be how Jordan was able to put his body back together with the help of Ultra Humanite. And another thing, we also don't know whether Cameron is truly evil. Because look, he won't kill Courtney. Now she's taken the blame for Mike. But if Cameron finds out that Jordan is alive, will Cameron go back to her? Will he go back to Courtney? Because Cameron acknowledges before Courtney that he knows his dad wasn't a good person. But he only had to stick up for him because he was his dad. Now Jordan's alive. Will that swing Cameron? I think so. But guys, overall, look, man, I'm going to give this episode a solid 8 out of 10. Now, the only other deciding factor for the future is there's Lily. You know, we saw her break down in tears about how much she misses her son Jordan. It's implied that she's been so focused on avenging his death that she's never got round to mourning her son's passing. And grieving parents, they may be flooded with all these negative emotions like regret, fear, guilt. All of these are normal feelings for bereaved parents. They are. The agony of losing a child of any age is unparalleled. And that's what's pushed her to the person that she has been today. So I think with her seeing Jordan coming back, she could turn the tide in the fight against Jordan and convince him otherwise. We have to wait and see, guys. But listen, let me know what you guys think about this tremendous ending. I mean, a wow factor ending. And I'll speak to you guys in the next one. Peace out.